a silent killer that people don't realize is slowly killing them? Story 1. Honestly, I feel like I'm living to die. Wake up, work, pay bills. I can only afford shitty food, walking outside in shitty polluted air, can't buy a home, unless I'm in a relationship. In some cases, two incomes aren't enough. Student loans defaulting, regular loans defaulting. And sadly, I can't possibly be the only one who feels this way. In this economy, lol. Story 2. Apparently, osteoporosis is known as the silent killer because you don't realize you have it. I'm 43 and have been recently diagnosed with it. Edit, I can't believe this is the most upvotes I've ever had. Please advocate for your own healthcare. No one else is going to do it for you. Story 3. Unspoken grief. The kind that lingers quietly in the body, stored in joints, skin, appetite, sleep. People carry so much they never name, and it eats them in silence. The body remembers what the mouth refuses to. Story 4. If you are in the UK, it could be lead. There are around 10,000 lead mines in England alone, most abandoned and never made safe. Also used in pipes and paint until the 90s. A number of people no testing, so no way of knowing how many make themselves sick decorating their house by dry sanding lead paint. Story 5. Liver disease. It's likely that the prevalence of fatty liver disease is up to 1 in 3 people. Fatty liver is harmless, but it can progress to cirrhosis and liver failure over a long period of time. The vast majority of people will have zero symptoms until they're on the brink of total liver failure. Story 6. Being mostly sedentary. Even if you aren't overweight, you're screwing yourself out of a longer, higher quality life if you aren't moving and exercising. Being strong isn't optional if you want to feel great. Story 7. Keeping abusive family around. Yes, they may not even realize the damage their toxic behavior does to others, and it's incredibly painful to distance yourself or cut them off. But living life taking abuse is going to cut so much from your life. Get away and find yourself, and you'll also find better health. Story 8. Insulin resistance. I spent years having cognitive issues leading to one entirely avoidable accident, low energy, terrible sleep quality, and being super susceptible to any kind of infection, only to discover that low-dose semaglutide, which addresses insulin resistance, instantly fixed all of those issues. Diabetes is not a good way to go, and doctors underprescribe semaglutide given its high cost. All I got were suggestions to live a less stressful life, exercise more, and eat healthier, which I tried and didn't find at all productive. Story 9. I've read most comments and bad news, guys. Our lifestyles are literally killing us, and there's almost nothing we can do except maybe exercise and go live alone, isolated in a forest eating berries and mushrooms while getting photographed every day because people think you're Bigfoot. So for now, make the most of your life, have fun, and take care of the people you love. That's about all we can do. Story 10. Nurse here. The standard American diet. High in carbs, cheap sugar is in everything. Diabetes over your whole body. Cigarettes. Cancer. High BP. Obesity. Lack of exercise, high stress, lack of financial resources to afford proper medical care. Story 11. Sleep apnea. People think it's just snoring and annoying, but it's way worse. When you're asleep and have obstructed breathing, your body panics a little bit, releasing a bit of adrenaline into your bloodstream to wake you up enough to breathe. With apnea, this can happen hundreds of times a night. Adrenaline is not good for you 300 times a night. It's great if you get surprised by a wild animal and need to run away or climb a tree, but otherwise, no good for you at all. It debilitates almost every major organ and metabolic system in your body. Long-term repeated exposure can really mess you up. If you even think you might have a problem, get it checked out. Story 12. Stress. That and constantly being surrounded by idiots. Just yesterday, someone said they got a flat tire on a forklift. Forklifts have solid tires, and when I get there, they had already somehow pulled off the wheel, damaging the axle. We had to get a brand new forklift because of that idiot. The forklift he broke had only been there for a week before he did that. Story 13. Chronic loneliness. It doesn't scream for attention like physical illness, but over time, it eats away at mental health, weakens the immune system, and even increases the risk of early death. What's scary is how common it is, especially in a world where we're more connected than ever. Sometimes all someone needs is a real conversation, not a notification. Story 14. 20 years as a paramedic in the ghetto, and a lot of men stroke out due to blood pressure issues. It seems especially poor ethnic communities. Please ask about BP. I'm sick of good men ending up in wheelchairs. Or worse. Yes, it's worse in ethnic communities. Primary care is lacking and all that. And all? I know, and that's wrong, but you still need to go and get in the cuff to find out. When I went to trauma and heavy rescue for the last 17 years of my career, I really noticed the inadequacy, but please try. If you have to pay $1 a month, the hospital has to treat it and take care of you, or they get, so make them earn it. Story 15. Being poor. Existing under a capitalism economy. Modern American food system. The Trump administration. Unconfirmed but suspicious social media. Modern tech in general. Story 16. Subjecting yourself to abusive people. Whether they hit you or not, it does actually physical damage to your body to put up with it over time. If you're reading this and it feels like you're doomed, treat it as a wake-up call. Form a safety plan. Remove yourself from the situation. Start over. Spend time alone. Spend time with a therapist. Learn how to see red flags and enforce boundaries to get out of the cycle. You can do it, and your mind, body, and soul will improve tenfold. Story 17. Soda. I know many people think it isn't that bad. And, oh, it's not so bad if I drink diet soda. But those are just as bad due to the artificial ingredients, especially the phosphates that are extremely hard on your kidneys. So many people develop kidney disease because of years of drinking soda. Story 18. Living in big cities. The pollution made there is already bad in itself, but that same pollution causes like a mini greenhouse effect that surrounds the city, making the heat get stuck. And because 99 of those cities are pure concrete, the heat stays there, making people more prone to dehydration, heat strokes, also sitting in the toilet more than necessary. Story 19. 5G and chemtrails. Come on, someone had to do it. Snark, if you couldn't tell. But honestly, getting your medical info from Facebook, aka doing your own research, I've seen more bad outcomes from that than anything. What's that line? Weaponized incompetency. Story 20. Plastic. Plastic in clothes. Plastic in cooking utensils. Plastic in bedding. Plastic in cleaning products. Plastic in hygiene products. Plastic. Story 21. When people stay too long in places where they don't belong, where their energy is constantly drained, they gradually lose their sense of self. This leads to a kind of spiritual death. It is not just physical death, it might even be something worse, deeper, quieter, and more devastating. Story 22. Microplastics. I have a feeling it's going to be 100 times worse when the science comes out fully than lead and asbestos combined because of the sheer number of people exposed. Story 23. The ongoing and unmitigated COVID pandemic, which still kills, still maims, and still makes people more vulnerable for any number of other health concerns. Story 24. I lost my brother back in January to a massive heart attack. The paramedic called it a widowmaker. He had zero signs of heart issues. So, I would say heart health. Story 25. Apparently, fucking meat? Even the non-processed stuff increases risk of stroke by like 16 among other things. If you eat more than like a chopstick a week, I think LMAO we're so doomed. Story 26. Sedentary jobs and car commuting. Imagine sitting for 10-11 HRs a day, and we have to take those kinds of jobs to get better pay somehow, and use a car to commute long distances for cheaper rent. Now try doing that for 40 years in a row. Story 27. Working too much. You were told by boomers to work hard, yet they didn't, and was able to buy a house on a shoe salesman's salary and support an entire family. I can't even get an apartment without 2 salaries. Story 28. Poor sleep. The amount of people who are just, okay, having really bad sleep hygiene just blows my mind. It's completely fixable for the vast majority of people without medical intervention, but so many people wear being overworked and overtired like it's some badge of honor. Good sleep will change your life in basically every way. Chronic poor sleep makes you sick regularly, makes you moodier, does crazy stuff to your hormones like hunger, and shaves years off your life through various bodily processes. It can also be the leading driver of dementia. Story 29. Ozempic while having a sedentary life. I feel like people will get hooked on it because they can continue to eat shitty food, no exercise, and still lose weight. This can't be normal, and I feel like firm the road it will make people more lazy and irresponsible with their body. Story 30. Dihydrogen monoxide. 100 mortality rate for all carbon-based life that touches or ingests it. Super scary that something like this could exist in the universe. Story 31. A chronic lack of sleep. Most people need an average of 7 to 9 hours of good sleep each and every day to remain happy and healthy. Getting less than that increases your base stress levels, increases your risk of cancer and other health issues, and severely affects your mental well-being. What makes things worse is that the people who are not getting enough sleep are also likely to be working 16-hour days, which again increases the stress levels because they don't get any downtime to relax and unwind. Story 32. DNA damage, which accumulates over time, resulting in shortened telomeres and mutations in nuclear and mitochondrial DNA, causing increased risk of cancer and other cellular defects, which slow processes like replacement and repair of damaged cells and death of cells that are no longer functioning. Story 33. Food deserts and poverty leads to bad food decisions and more health issues like heart attacks, cancer, lower age mortality versus the general population, etc. Story 34. Sitting in traffic for an hour, just to sit at a desk for 9 hours and sit in traffic for another hour, and then so exhausted after the fact, sitting on the couch for 2 hours. Story 35. It's all diet, mostly high fructose corn syrup. It leads to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and lots of inflammation, which is probably at the heart of thyroid disease, Alzheimer's, arthritis, and maybe even some cancers. Story 36. Sugar. All that added sugar in each meal adds up, makes you addicted, damages your cells, brain, liver, risk of diabetes, and can damage nerves. It is also a cause of inflammation, which in the long term with those comorbidities will lead to some very bad outcomes. My uncle was healthy, worked with his hands, walked a lot but ate a ton of sugar. Just had his second foot amputated BC. He didn't make the changes before it was too late. Story 37. Life. Terminal illness with a 100 mortality rate. People never worry about it until they're 1 foot in the grave. Then they start eating healthy and exercise. Story 38. Living close to a busy highway. In Toronto, I saw a graph of cancer rates. Huge spikes close to highways where cars are sitting filling all rush hour. If you know Toronto HWI 427Q in Gardner.